Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Chris Stallings. You may know me here on YouTube as MarauderEX, and this is my 2 cents, where I will give you my 2 cents, and as such my opinion, on a particular story in the gaming industry at the time. This may be a story we may or may not have reported on Rainfall, but something that just caught my eye that I felt that I needed to weigh in on in some way, shape, or form. And as such, this is my opinion, and it depresses me that I have to say this, but my opinion does not necessarily reflect the opinions of Rainfall or its staff at large, and it is an opinion based off of the information I personally have at the moment. I am not omnipotent, I am not omniscient, I do not know everything, and as such, my opinion can be changed by presenting new information, new facts, a different viewpoint. I am not that conceited to where I think my opinion is 100% correct, because I don't have all the facts, and I'm not going to pretend to have all the facts. I'm just going to tell you what I see and know at that moment. And if you can provide anything else that might sway, feel free to. Please do. That's the point of this. Logical discourse between intelligent adults. That's where I'm going with this. So I want to give you my 2 cents on the International Esports Federation. I have wanted to see gaming become much more mainstream than it already is. I mean, it is very mainstream, but I would like to see it getting the recognition that it deserves for the amount of skill required to do some of the things in these games. We've all been in a situation in a game where we have just been completely on fire and we are just completely decimating the game, either the computer or other players, and then we've been in the reverse of that, where we have just been completely decimated by the computer or other players. Nothing we do seems to, get us out of that slump. And that's what I love about gaming, is that it is so drastic where you can be completely on fire. It's like any other competitive sport. Watching your favorite team come back, what looked hopeless, and they pull out a miracle by the skin of their teeth and win. That sort of feeling is just fun to watch. And no matter what it is, be it soccer, be it Team Fortress 2, just seeing that comeback just energizes people. And I've really hoped that gaming would become an esport like this. Unfortunately, that was kind of set back a little bit in the last 24 hours. The IeSF were going to host a tournament that was going to be gender segregated. They were going to have a male-only tournament and a female-only tournament. Now, this wouldn't necessarily be as bad if both tournaments were the same, because the statement that the IeSF had issued when this came to light was that they are modeling their sport after legitimate sports, and by that I mean soccer, football, basketball, baseball, basically anything with an Olympic prefacing the sport, because those sports have been and seem to always will be gender segregated. And that's from, I guess, a lot of viewpoints that women are not as physically capable as men, they're not as strong, they're not as fast. That sort of mentality and keeping them segregated for various reasons. I don't know all of the reasons. I can't imagine why some sports are segregated. I mean, I can imagine some people think that, they don't want male players accidentally injuring female players, but accidentally injuring other male players is completely fine. It's like the mentality of they're a guy, they can take it. The only sport I've ever really been involved in is martial arts, and my instructor from day one drilled into our heads that there's always going to be someone better than you. Never get too cocky, because no matter how good you think you are, there's always going to be someone just a little bit better, or gets just a little bit luckier, and they can mop the floor with you. So I never really got that mindset, because there were just as many men and women studying with me at the same time that it was entirely possible that one person who could just be better than you could be female. never underestimate. But I guess the traditional sports have that mentality of men and women being completely different. I've, again, never seen it. Now, the fall here is that the IeSF were going to have 2 separate tournaments. Completely different games. That was the big kicker to this, is that they were completely different games. It wasn't the same games, just gender separated. It was the men had these games, the women had these games. That seems completely unfair. And part of it is that, like I said, they want to model it after these sports. Well, gaming is not like these sports. Gaming is not like soccer. Gaming is not like football. Model these sports after sports that get other recognition that are not gender biased. You can have the biggest one that comes to mind is the World Series of Poker. Poker is a game based off of thinking, strategy, planning, bluffing. These are things that it does not matter what gender you are. And in fact, a lot of people in the World Series of Poker and a lot of these high-end poker tournaments and championships, you have a mixed bag of both male and female players. And it doesn't matter. And the kicker to this is actually on ESPN, a sports network. It gets legitimate airtime as being a legitimate sport. And no one cares what gender you are, because it's not physically endurance, so that you don't have that cloud of male versus female in a physical sport hanging over your head of that whole, I don't even know how to describe that whole old boys club sexism thing. So why are we modeling esports after legitimate sports when we can model them after other sports that it doesn't matter what gender you are, and that get actual recognition? Well, the IeSF in the last 24 hours have taken several blows about this issue, and they are trying to fix it. Their most recent update they've stated that they are removing the male-only tournament. It is going to be all-inclusive. Those games are now going to be able to be played by anyone and everyone. They are still, however, going to have a female-only tournament. And this is where things get really fuzzy and really dicey for a lot of people, myself included. I really do not know how to feel about this because I can see both sides of this argument. Having a female-only tournament is more prone to bringing female gamers into the sport, make them feel more comfortable in the sport, and hopefully, over time, erode the walls that currently exist in gaming that are horrendously sexist. On the other hand, you still have gender discrimination, which is just not fair in any aspect. You're just trading one gender for another. Now, like I said, I see both points of this. I can see, I've never once wanted to be a female gamer online. The few instances that I've played with someone online who openly admits to being female have been met with incredibly hostile, violent, sexual remarks, threats. I to the point to where it made me uncomfortable as someone not involved in the situation. I was not the one making the comments. I was not the one having the comments made toward me. But it made me uncomfortable to the point where I did not feel like I could be in that environment. And I can only imagine what the female players were like. Or the fact that female players may have to hide their gender online to avoid that type of attitude inflicted upon them. But at the same time, if you're trading one gender restriction for another, how is that showing gender equality? And I'm confused. I really am. I'm very confused as to how to feel about this. I feel like the IeSF is making some amount of... they're trying to make progress by making it all-inclusive, but I think you took one step forward and one step back. And I don't know. I really don't know. But I want to know your 2 cents on the matter. How do you feel about it? Is it a good thing that, they are making these 2 tournaments the way they are? Or are they just trading one bias for another? I would understand if the statement was, we're going to have a female-only tournament until the player base that signs up for these tournaments becomes more evenly distributed. We're going to do this until we see the numbers that we see in studies of, male and female gamers being evenly split, the same as in the tournaments. So that we do not have to worry about, oh, well, we're padding it with just, a few token female gamers, or not, the female gamers aren't good enough and we're still getting more male gamers. That's, if there was a statement made to that effect, I could understand. But as it is, it's just we're having female gaming only tournament to make women feel more welcome. I can see that, like I said, in the long run. But in the short run, is it still a good thing or a bad thing? I'm so confused with this. I really have no idea. So let me know your 2 cents. Do you want to see sports become, video games become a part of actual sporting events? Would you want to see the IeSF become a legitimate sport network to where we could compete in terms of other sports? Certainly I don't see gaming becoming as popular as soccer worldwide, but maybe one day. I would love to see that personally. I don't know if anyone else shares that opinion. Or are we just kind of kidding ourselves into taking gaming and treating it as a sport? I personally would love to watch a lot of these games on a competitive level, just as much as I like watching people win at poker. That's just me. That's my 2 cents. Let me know your thoughts and opinions. Maybe you have a viewpoint I haven't considered or thought of. Maybe you have some information that I haven't seen. Let me know. Because that's, again, rational discourse between intelligent adults. Till then, later everyone.